Welcome to our deep dive into the psychology of money by Morgan Housel.
Yeah.
We're really going beyond just the numbers today.
Right.
And we're going to explore this often overlooked human side of money.
Absolutely.
You know, you've shared some fascinating excerpts with me.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to unpack some of these surprising stories and aha moments that might just change how we think about wealth and risk.
For sure.
And even happiness.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing how Housel really takes these complex financial concepts and makes them relatable.
Right.
By focusing on those emotional and psychological factors that drive our decisions.
It is.
It's a refreshing approach that challenges traditional financial advice.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny because I was reading through those excerpts you sent, and it really struck me how much our personal experiences shape our relationship with money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's like,
Housel calls this the power of personal history.
okay,
And it's a crucial concept to grasp. You know, we all come to the table with these unique financial backgrounds and experiences
right,
that color how we view money and risk and reward.
totally. And sometimes that can make financial advice that seems totally logical to one person
Right.
sound absolutely crazy to someone else.
Really, yeah.
It's like we're speaking different financial languages.
It's true. And Housel even shares this really intriguing anecdote
Okay.
about John F. Kennedy during the 1960 election.
Okay.
So his family was incredibly wealthy,
Right.
and they were completely unaffected by the Great Depression.
Wow.
He literally didn't understand what average Americans were going through. He said he only learned about it later by reading about it at Harvard.
Wow. Talk about a financial blind spot.
Yeah.
It really highlights how our personal experiences can create these gaps in understanding.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, what financial blind spots do we have?
Right.
You know, based on our own upbringings.
That's a great question to ponder, and it's especially relevant when you consider how generational experiences really shape financial perspectives.
Yeah.
Housel points out that people born in 1970 saw the S&P 500 increase almost tenfold
Wow.
during their teens and 20s.
Okay.
But those born in 1950 witnessed the market go practically nowhere during that same period.
That's a huge difference.
Huge.
I could see how that kind of early exposure to market performance would shape your entire outlook on investing.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
It influences your expectations of returns,
Right.
your willingness to take risks, and even your definition of success.
So if you grew up seeing stocks skyrocket,
Yeah.
you might be more inclined to view the market as this magical money-making machine.
Right. Well, someone who experienced flat returns might be more cautious and risk-averse.
Yeah.
It really highlights the importance of understanding those formative experiences when seeking or giving financial advice.
I'm starting to realize that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to money.
No.
It's about understanding our own biases
Absolutely.
and recognizing that others may have completely different perspectives
Yeah.
based on their experiences.
Absolutely. Which brings us to another crucial concept from Housel.
Okay.
The interplay of risk and luck.
Okay.
He challenges us to recognize that financial success is rarely solely about skill.
Okay.
Luck and risk play a huge role.
You know, it's easy to look at incredibly successful people like Bill Gates
Yeah.
and assume they got there purely through hard work and brilliance.
Yeah.
But Housel makes this compelling argument that luck is often a bigger factor than we realize.
Yeah. And he illustrates this with a powerful example.
Good.
Gates had this brilliant and equally driven friend named Kent Evans,
Yep.
who tragically died in a mountain climbing accident before Microsoft even took off.
Wow.
It's a sobering reminder that even with immense talent and effort,
Yeah.
fate can intervene in unexpected ways.
That story really makes you think.
It does.
So how do we grapple with this?
Right.
How do we acknowledge the role of luck in our own successes and failures without downplaying the importance of our own efforts?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Housel suggests that we should approach our successes with humility,
Okay.
recognizing that luck may have played a part, and when we encounter setbacks, we should be forgiving of ourselves.
Right.
Acknowledging that sometimes external factors are at play.
It's almost like reframing our definition of success.
It is.
It's not just about achieving a specific financial outcome,
Right.
but about making informed decisions,
Yeah.
learning from our experiences, and adapting to the ever-changing landscape of risk and luck.
It's about focusing on what we can control.
Yeah.
Our effort, our strategies, our mindset.
Right.
And accepting that we can't control everything. And you know, this ties into another fascinating concept from Housel,
Okay.
the tyranny of the goalposts.
Okay, tell me more about this.
Okay.
What's so tyrannical about goalposts?
Well, Housel argues that as we achieve financial success, our aspirations tend to rise in tandem, often leading to a perpetual sense of not having enough.
It's like that saying, the more you have, the more you want.
Exactly.
It's the classic keeping up with the Joneses dilemma, but on a grander scale.
Exactly. And this can trap us in this never-ending cycle of striving and dissatisfaction.
Wow.
And Housel illustrates this with a striking example.
Okay.
A rookie baseball player earning $500,000 who feels broke compared to his teammate with a $430 million contract.
Oh, wow.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah, I could see how easy it would be to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
You're making more money than you ever dreamed of.
Right.
But you're still comparing yourself to those at the very top and feeling inadequate.
Yeah. The key Housel suggests is to define what enough means to you.
Okay.
What does financial security and contentment look like in your own life?
That's such a crucial question.
It is.
I think it's easy to get caught up in this idea that there's always more to achieve, more to acquire. But true financial well-being might be more about appreciating what we have and finding satisfaction in the present moment.
It's about aligning our financial goals with our values and priorities,
right?
Rather than constantly chasing some arbitrary number that keeps getting bigger. And, you know, this is where the power of time comes in.
Okay. You know, I think we often underestimate the power of time when it comes to building wealth.
Yeah.
You know, we get so caught up in the hustle, trying to make more money. But maybe the real secret is to just be patient.
Yeah.
And let our money work for us over the long haul.
Housel makes a really fascinating argument about this.
Okay.
He says that personal savings are the one part of the money equation that's entirely within our control. Unlike investment returns, which are subject to all sorts of external factors, we have complete agency over how much we save.
That's true.
Right.
It's a good reminder that we have more power than we think.
We do.
And it's not always about earning more, but about being mindful of how we use what we already have.
Absolutely.
And this makes me think of something we talked about earlier, that idea of decreasing our energy consumption.
Right.
You know.
Housel actually highlights this point.
Okay.
By comparing personal finance to energy consumption, despite concerns about peak oil.
Yeah.
The United States uses 60% less energy per dollar of GDP today than it did in 1950.
So we've become much more energy efficient.
Way more.
Even as our economy has grown.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It is. We've achieved this through innovation.
Okay.
And a focus on using resources wisely.
Okay.
We've built lighter cars, more energy efficient homes, and adopted technologies that reduce our reliance on fossil fuels.
So what you're saying is we can apply this same principle to our finances.
Exactly.
Instead of constantly striving to earn more, we can focus on optimizing how we use the money we already have.
Right.
This means prioritizing needs over wants, finding creative ways to reduce expenses, and developing a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity.
I love that.
Yeah, it's about shifting our focus from acquiring more to appreciating what we have and making it work harder for us.
And you know, speaking of appreciating what we have, Housel points out that the biggest reason people with decent income save so little is this gap between their ego and their income.
Ah, yes, that peacock feather analogy.
Exactly.
We often spend money to impress others.
Yeah.
To project a certain image.
Right.
Even if it means sacrificing our financial well-being.
It's a trap that's easy to fall into.
Yeah.
Especially in a society that values material possessions and external validation.
Right.
But true wealth, Housel argues, is what you don't see. It's about having the financial freedom to make choices that align with your values.
Right.
Not about keeping up appearances.
This really resonates with me.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot lately about how I can use my money to buy back my time.
Yes.
Work has been so demanding, and I feel like I'm missing out on other things that are important to me.
That's a fantastic goal.
Yeah.
Using money to buy back your time is one of the most valuable yet often overlooked benefits of financial freedom.
Yeah, it's not just about early retirement, right?
Right.
It's about having the flexibility to create a life that feels balanced and fulfilling.
Exactly. It could mean hiring someone to help with household chores, outsourcing tasks that you don't enjoy, or simply working fewer hours to create more space for the things that matter most to you.
So it's about being intentional with our time.
Yeah.
And making sure our financial decisions are supporting our lifestyle goals rather than dictating them.
Precisely, and this reminds me of another key point that Housel makes.
Okay.
The difference between being rich and being wealthy.
Okay.
He says that rich is a current income,
Okay.
while wealthy is financial assets that haven't yet been converted into the stuff you see.
So someone driving a fancy car and living in a huge house might be rich,
Right.
but not necessarily wealthy.
Right.
If they're spending all their income to maintain that lifestyle.
Exactly. While someone living a more modest lifestyle,
Yeah.
but with a large nest egg, could be considered wealthy, even if their income isn't as high.
Right.
It's an important distinction.
It is. It's about looking beyond the surface
Yeah.
and understanding that true wealth is about having the resources to support the life you want,
Yes.
both now and in the future.
Exactly. And this ties back to the concept of saving money.
Okay.
If you're constantly spending your income to maintain a certain lifestyle,
Yeah.
you're not building wealth.
Right.
Even if you're bringing in a lot of money, true wealth is about having that financial cushion
Right.
to weather storms and pursue your dreams.
This makes me think about the power of delayed gratification.
Yes.
It's about making choices today
Yeah.
that will create more options and freedom tomorrow.
You're exactly right. It's not about depriving yourself,
Right.
but about making smart choices that align with your long-term vision.
Yeah.
And speaking of long-term vision, let's talk about investing. We've discussed the importance of saving,
Right.
but how do we make sure our money is working for us and growing over time?
This is where I start to feel a bit overwhelmed.
I understand.
Investing can seem so complex and intimidating,
Yeah.
especially with all the conflicting advice and ever-changing market conditions. Where do we even begin?
You're not alone. A lot of people feel that way about investing.
Yeah.
But Housel reminds us that no one can predict the future of the market with certainty.
Right.
Even the so-called experts, remember that discussion about the role of luck.
Yeah.
It applies to investing as well.
Okay, so that's a relief to hear.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off feeling like I need to have all the answers.
Right.
Or be a financial genius to make smart investment decisions.
Exactly. So instead of trying to outsmart the market
Right.
or time it perfectly, Housel suggests focusing on strategies that are psychologically reasonable
Okay.
and align with your personal risk tolerance.
So it's not about finding some magical formula.
Or get-rich-quick scheme. No, but about making choices that feel comfortable and sustainable for the long term.
That's the key. And one strategy that Housel highlights
Okay.
is investing in a diversified portfolio of index funds,
Okay.
an approach favored by Warren Buffett himself.
Okay, index funds. Those are those baskets of stocks that track a particular market index,
Right.
like the S&P 500, right?
Exactly.
I've heard they're a good option for people who are new to investing.
They can be, especially for those who don't want to spend hours researching individual stocks
Right.
or trying to time the market.
Yeah.
Index funds offer broad diversification,
Okay.
which helps to spread risk, and they tend to have lower fees than actively managed funds.
But what about those stories we hear about people getting rich by picking individual stocks?
Yeah.
Or investing in the latest hot trends?
Right.
Aren't we missing out on those potential gains by sticking to more traditional investments?
It's true that some people do strike it rich
Yeah.
with individual stocks or risky bets. Right.
But remember, the principle of tails drive everything. Those successes are often outliers.
Okay.
And trying to replicate them can be very dangerous.
Right.
It's a bit like playing the lottery.
Yeah,
You might win big,
Right.
but the odds are stacked against you.
that makes sense. I'd rather focus on strategies
Right.
that offer more predictable and sustainable growth over time, even if it means giving up on the dream of getting rich quick.
And that's where index funds can be such a powerful tool.
Okay.
They allow you to harness the power of compounding
Right.
by giving you exposure to a broad range of companies.
Okay.
And remember, time is your greatest ally when it comes to investing.
This reminds me of that mind-blowing calculation we did about Warren Buffett's wealth.
Oh, yeah.
If he had started investing later in life,
Right.
he wouldn't have amassed nearly as much wealth.
Right.
Even with his incredible track record, time really is the secret weapon.
It is. And index funds allow you to take full advantage of that weapon. They're a simple and effective way to ride the wave of market growth without having to be a stock picking expert.
Okay. I'm starting to see the appeal of index funds.
Yeah.
They seem like a good fit for someone like me
Yeah.
who wants to invest for the long term without getting bogged down in the complexities of the stock market.
They're definitely worth considering.
Okay.
And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to investing.
Right.
The best strategy for you will depend on your individual circumstances, risk tolerance, and financial goals.
So it's about finding a balance between maximizing returns and managing risk.
Yes.
It's about making choices that allow us to sleep well at night, knowing that our money is working for us.
Right.
In a way that feels both prudent and sustainable.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, this is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
The most important thing is to do your research.
Yeah.
Understand the principles we've been discussing, and make choices that feel aligned with your values and vision for the future.
I love how this is all coming together.
Yeah.
We're not just learning about money,
Right.
but about ourselves.
Yeah.
And how to make choices that support our overall well-being.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm building a whole new toolkit for navigating my financial life.
That's fantastic. And it's the perfect foundation for the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore some of the most common psychological traps that trip up investors and how to avoid them.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm ready to dive deeper into those psychological pitfalls
Yeah.
and learn how to navigate them like a pro.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to our deep dive. You know, it's been fascinating unpacking all these concepts from the psychology of money.
It has.
But it's also a little humbling to realize how much our own minds can trip us up when it comes to money.
It's true. Housel does a brilliant job of highlighting those psychological pitfalls that can sabotage even the most well-intentioned financial plans.
Right.
And the thing is, we all fall prey to these biases from time to time.
Right.
It's part of being human.
Okay, so let's talk about some of these traps.
Yeah.
One that I know I've struggled with is overconfidence. It's easy to get a little cocky, especially when the market is doing well.
Right.
And start thinking, you've got it all figured out.
Absolutely. We start feeling like we're invincible, like we've cracked the code to investing.
Yeah.
But as Housel points out, we often mistake luck for skill.
Right.
And that can lead us to make some pretty risky moves.
So how do we avoid this trap? How do we stay grounded and make sure we're not letting our egos write checks that our portfolios can't cash?
Well, one thing Housel suggests
Okay.
is to remember that nothing is ever as good or as bad as it seems.
Okay.
When things are going well, it's important to stay humble and remember that markets are cyclical.
Yeah.
What goes up must come down eventually.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the euphoria of a bull market
Yeah.
and forget that downturns are a natural part of the cycle.
Exactly. And on the flip side, when things are tough, we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves.
Right.
Some losses are inevitable, and some are simply due to factors beyond our control.
Right.
It's all part of the game.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Celebrating the wins without getting too carried away.
Right.
And weathering the losses without losing sight of the long-term plan.
You've got it. And another strategy for combating overconfidence is to constantly challenge our own assumptions. We need to ask ourselves, what if we're wrong?
Okay.
What if the market doesn't behave the way we expect? What's our plan B?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like a pre-mortem for our investments.
That is.
By thinking through potential pitfalls and developing contingency plans.
Right.
We're much better prepared to handle whatever comes our way.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this leads us to another sneaky psychological trap that Housel talks about.
Okay.
The sunk cost fallacy.
Ooh, I've definitely fallen victim to this one.
Yeah.
It's that tendency to stick with a losing investment.
Right.
Simply because we've already poured so much time, money, or energy into it.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
It's hard to admit defeat.
Right.
Especially when we've invested a lot in something.
Totally.
But sometimes the best decision is to cut our losses and move on.
But how do we know when to hold them and when to fold them?
Right.
How do we overcome that emotional attachment and make a rational decision?
Housel suggests shifting our perspective. Instead of dwelling on the past and what we've already invested, we need to look to the future.
Okay.
We need to ask ourselves, if I were starting from scratch today, would I make this investment?
That's such a powerful question.
It is.
It really forces you to detach from those past emotions and evaluate the investment on its own merits.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that every dollar we have tied up in a losing investment is a dollar that could be working harder for us elsewhere.
This reminds me of that concept of opportunity cost. Every decision we make comes at the expense of other potential opportunities.
Yeah.
So by clinging to a sinking ship,
Right.
we could be missing out on a chance to invest in something with much greater potential for growth.
It's a great point. And speaking of opportunities, this brings us to another psychological pitfall
Okay.
that's especially relevant in today's world.
Okay.
The fear of missing out, or FOMO.
Oh, FOMO. the bane of my existence. It feels like everyone else is getting rich quick.
Right.
While I'm plodding along with my boring, responsible investments.
A powerful force, especially with social media, constantly bombarding us with images of other people's successes.
Right.
But as Housel points out, we often compare our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. It's not a fair comparison.
So true. We're seeing the curated, filtered versions of people's lives.
Right.
Not the full picture.
Exactly.
It's easy to forget that everyone faces challenges and setbacks.
And we often forget that different people are playing different games. They may have different goals, risk tolerances, and time horizons.
Right.
So what makes sense for them might not make sense for us.
So it's about defining our own game.
Yeah.
And sticking to our own strategy, even when it feels like everyone else is winning at a different game.
Exactly. And remember, investing is a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
Sustainable wealth is built over time through consistent effort and smart decisions.
Right.
Not through chasing every hot trend or get-rich-quick scheme.
Which reminds me of another trap we need to watch out for.
Okay.
Underestimating the power of compounding.
Yes.
We tend to focus on short-term fluctuations.
Right.
But the real magic happens over the long haul.
You're absolutely right. Compounding is like a snowball rolling down a hill.
Okay.
It starts small, but as it gathers momentum, it grows exponentially.
Yeah.
But we need to give it time to work its magic.
So it's about being patient and trusting the process.
Yeah.
Even when we don't see immediate results.
And it's about starting as early as possible. Because those early years of compounding can make a huge difference over time.
You know, this all ties back to something we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
The idea of embracing uncertainty. You know, that's counterintuitive.
Right.
But maybe learning to be comfortable with the unknowns is actually key to making good financial decisions.
Housel makes a really compelling argument for this.
Okay.
He reminds us that the future is inherently unpredictable.
Right.
We can plan and strategize,
Yeah.
but we can never know for sure what's going to happen.
So it's about accepting that there will always be risks and unknowns.
Absolutely.
And being prepared to adapt as needed.
Exactly. And, you know, this brings us to our final psychological principle.
Okay.
The power of narratives.
Okay. Remind me how narratives impact our financial decisions.
Well, think about the stories we tell ourselves about money, about the economy, about the future.
Yeah.
These narratives shape our perceptions and influence our choices,
Right.
sometimes in really profound ways.
So if we believe the story that the stock market is rigged against us,
Right.
or that we're destined to be poor,
Yeah,
we're much more likely to make decisions that reinforce those beliefs.
exactly. And we're constantly bombarded with narratives from the media,
Yeah.
from financial gurus, from our friends and family.
Right.
It's important to be aware of these narratives and to question whether they're serving us or holding us back.
So it's about developing that critical thinking muscle.
Yeah.
About not blindly accepting everything we hear.
Right.
And about forming our own opinions based on facts and logic.
And remember, the most powerful narrative is the one we tell ourselves about our own financial future.
Right.
Are we creating a story of scarcity and limitation, or one of abundance and possibility? The choice is ours.
That's such an empowering thought.
It is.
We have the power to rewrite our financial stories and create a future
Yeah,
that aligns with our values and aspirations.
absolutely. And you know what's so exciting about understanding the psychology of money?
Yeah.
Is that it gives us the tools to do just that.
Right.
By recognizing our biases and developing healthy financial habits, we can create a brighter future for ourselves and our families.
This deep dive has been such an eye-opening experience. I feel like I have a whole new framework for thinking about money.
Me too. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
And with our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey into the fascinating world of the psychology of money.
We hope you found these insights as valuable as we have.
And remember, this is just the beginning. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep writing your own financial success story.
Until next time.